welcome to Town Hall. This week, Bert Bank, the beloved Bert Bank, who everybody in town knew as a legislator, as a war hero, as an author, as the founder of the Alabama Football Network, is friends of every coach from Wallace Wade to Nick Saban, died this week, and we have just come from the funeral. And my guest today is somebody that, if you're an Alabama fan, needs no introduction, Eli Gold.
Good to see you. I wish it was under happier circumstances, but it's good to be here with you today.
Now, you were telling me tell the story about how you got hired for the network, because you would not have been the first choice of a lot of people, or people wouldn't even thought
I might not have been the first choice of me, to be very honest. The Reader's Digest version is, I never applied for the job. I was on the road doing baseball. I was broadcasting some baseball at the time, and my name kept popping up in news articles, and my wife would call me and say, by the way, your name was in the article as a potential replacement for John Forney, who had come back, who had done 29 years. Paul Kennedy, then Paul Kennedy did 5 years. Paul wasn't to be rehired, and then my name was on this list, but I didn't even act on it because I felt I had no chance.
You're from Brooklyn.
I was a New Yorker from Brooklyn. I broadcast professional sports my whole life. Pro hockey, pro baseball. I mean, I was a pro sports guy. NASCAR.
NASCAR.
I did not go to the University of Alabama. I wasn't from here, and even though we lived in Birmingham and had lived there for 10 years at that point, we loved it. I just didn't think. But every day, my name was in that article, and then the next day, it's on the short list are such and such and Eli Gold. I had not called a soul. Then a few days later, among those coming in for interviews are such and such, and Eli Gold. I'm serious. So I finally picked up the phone and I called Tommy Limbaugh. He was the man who was empowered with hiring the new voice of the Tide at the time. And I called him. I said, Mr. Limbaugh, you don't know me, but my name is Eli Gold, and I understand from the papers I'm coming in for an interview. So we had a nice little laugh. And long story short, they hired me to do basketball at that moment.
I remember.
Brought John Forney back.
This was
That was 1988 at the time. I did the 88-89 basketball season. They brought John back to continue football. That was his 30th year, with no plans for him not to continue down the road. As it turns out, his health situation was such, and the decision was made in time for the '89 season that they offered me the job. But it was not a popular decision, and because of the aforementioned circumstances.
Well, a lot of it having to be with such an insular family here,
And
of course,
that's
now you're
great.
part of the family.
Now I am, but at that time it took Bert Bank. If not for Bert, seriously, there'd be somebody else sitting here doing this interview right now. Bert stood up in the figurative term and said, look, this guy is good. He's a nice guy. He's going to do us a wonderful job. Give him a chance. He's going to be part of the family. You're going to love him. I mean, there were people threatening to pull their contributions. There were people who said they were going to take the university out of their wills. It was
like
not.
the Bill Curry
when
era.
I say it was not popular, I'm very serious. But Bert kind of greased the skids to make sure that everything did go smoothly. And I have, until the day he died, until the last day I saw him, I always thanked him for this opportunity, because I don't believe I would have survived the negative backlash had it not been for Bert standing up and saying, hey, the kid's good, give him a chance.
The funeral we just got back from was one of the few Jewish funerals I've ever attended. And it's, I think, only the second full military funeral, although I wish they hadn't pointed those guns at us when they did the 21-gun salute. But you had some affinity there, too, as ethnic affinity.
Yeah, I'm a Jewish man. It's very interesting that some of the longest-standing broadcasters at the University of Alabama And in the Southeastern Conference are Jewish men. Of course, Mel Allen, who was Melvin Israel, changed his name
and
before he became the voice of the Yankees.
Yeah.
He was a broadcaster. Bert is of the Jewish faith. I am. Jack Crystal at Mississippi State is a Jewish man. The Southeastern Conference Commissioner, Mike Slive, is a Jewish fellow. So, but you know, it's incidental. That's incidental.
Exactly.
It has nothing to do.
Bert.
Bert was Bert. It doesn't matter. He would have been Bert regardless of what his religious beliefs were.
And as you told me on the phone the other day, Bert
He's a mensch. Mensch was an old Yiddish word that just meant a true gentleman, a hard-working, true gentleman. That was a word that you always heard around Jewish communities, and actually has even busted free from those constraints. He was just a true gentleman, and forget everything else he did. If you can go out of this world and folks say, he was a gentleman, you've done well.
Well, we were standing there today at the funeral, and I was looking up at the stadium, and in the north upper deck, you can see his grave.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure he'll be craning his neck. He'll see the booth from where he's lying.
Well, the problem is when they build the south deck, but there'll be places where you can go sneak a peek when you're going up the
And every Saturday as we make our way to our parking spots, because they close off that end of Bryant Drive on game day, we always circle around Evergreen Cemetery. And now, I'm telling you, what's going to happen. My wife said the same thing earlier today. She said, as we're driving around to our parking spot, you're instinctively going to look over there and just kind of tip your hat to Bert as you go by.
Yeah. Well, Eli, I know this was on short notice.
No problem. It's my pleasure.
Really appreciate it. And tune in next week for another town hall. I can't promise it'll be as good as this one, but we'll try.